Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Biombo and Bissau in Guinea-Bissau, which, yes, the country is named after the capital city of Bissau. Which is because if you know your geography, you know that there are a lot of Guineas in Africa. There's Guinea-Bissau. Right here we have just straight Guinea. And yesterday we were down in Equatorial Guinea, of course closer to the equator. Which is all because each Guinea was colonized by different European powers. So they're all separate. So Guinea-Bissau was originally Portuguese Guinea, but decided upon not being a part of Portugal anymore to distinguish itself by naming itself after the capital city of Bissau. So it is Guinea-Bissau, and that's what we'll talk about today. Starting, however, with Biombo, which is this piece of land, I guess technically an island. Right here, it's very small. Technically an island because you can see that many rivers flow out to the Atlantic Ocean at this point. One of them pretty much surrounds Biombo there. I guess maybe not technically an island, but close enough. It is the Mansoa River. And this area is surrounded by mangroves. Same with Bissau here along the coast, but it's very thickly forested with mangroves. And if you don't know, mangrove trees are trees that grow in salt water, very brackish salt water, and makes it kind of swampy in a way. It's very thick. The capital of Biombo, which I might mispronounce because it's Portuguese, and my Portuguese is absolutely awful, is Guinea-Bissau. I think you can see right here, yeah, Guinea-Bissau, right there. And in this video, I've linked the two together, not because they're side by side, which also makes sense, but because they're history and geography is very closely linked. Bissau is surrounded by Biombo, and this whole region has one long shared history, so it wouldn't make any sense to separate it. I'd just be repeating myself in two different videos, so you get both in one. This is the ancestral home of the Papel ethnic group. And that is where our history is going to begin, because the Papel kingdom of Bissau, of course here in Bissau, is where our real history begins. I didn't find any concrete evidence of happenings here in the kingdom. It was all mythology, all kind of legends that are probably based on some truth. Like it was founded by a prince who brought his pregnant sister and his many wives, and then all those wives birthed different, parts of the kingdom, different dynasties in a way. And then whenever a king would die, there would be a huge power struggle for the throne, because there were 7 different claims to the throne. It's all very convoluted, I think, but very interesting nonetheless. The Portuguese came into contact with the Papel in the kingdom of Bissau in the very late 16th century. The Portuguese were starting to explore the African coastline, their quest to find a way to sail around Africa to reach the Indian Ocean and the Spice Islands over there. But throughout most of the 1600s, the kingdom of Bissau and the Portuguese actually got along pretty well. The Portuguese had a safe place to port and trade and even send slaves out. And the Papel got the Portuguese to fight off some of their enemies. So it was, it worked together to a point. They started to build a fort here in what's now Bissau, pretty much establishing the city of Bissau in, I didn't write down the year. I'm checking my notes real quick. I did not write down the year. But it was probably in the 1700s, I want to say. Because at that point, the tensions were growing between these two powers. A king assumed the throne that the Portuguese did not want in charge. And the people here were starting to realize that the Portuguese were receiving more from their friendship than they were receiving, And that there was probably a very large power imbalance happening here. And they really realized that when the French tried to come in and trade, and the Bissau Kingdom was like, yeah, absolutely, and the Portuguese were like, absolutely not, and shut them out. And they were like, but why? Starting to question things, starting to push back. It was very much one instance retaliated another, and so on and so forth. Until it turned into an all-out conflict between Bissau and Portugal. Portugal at one point gave up building the fort. They moved out, founded another city down here. But they would eventually come back and try again, be met with resistance. And it was very, very contentious. There were many uprisings, battles between the two throughout the late 1800s. But in 1915, the Portuguese finally defeated the Kingdom of Bissau and came under Portuguese control. And in 1941, Bissau became the capital of Portuguese Guinea. Previously it was Biombo, which is down here. They just moved it up there. There's quite a lot of violence that occurred in the city here throughout the 20th century. There was a large dockworkers' strike in 1959 that ended very violently. The Independence War was very prominently fought here in Bissau, of course. Amilcar Cabral is an important figure in the independence movement of Guinea-Bissau. I talked about him when we covered Bafata over here. I'll link the video up there so you can learn more about Amilcar Cabral. He would be assassinated before he saw Guinea-Bissau become independent and was laid to rest here in Bissau. I'll show you where on Google Earth in a minute. But then later, Guinea-Bissau in the 1990s fell into a civil war after a failed coup attempt. And Bissau was almost entirely destroyed during it, the fighting between 1998 and 1999. Which thankfully pretty much all of the destruction is no longer. Buildings have been rebuilt or just built over what was destroyed. And it's a lovely little city today. So, I think with that being said, why don't we pop over to Google Earth and check out this region on my tablet. Here we are in Biombo that I highlighted for you. And then over here is Bissau. In Guinea-Bissau, of course, let's zoom out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. So here's beautiful Africa. And then this is, of course, West Africa. You can see the Sahara region, of course, leading into the Sahel, which is the midway point between all of this desert and all of this lush here. But we are definitely in the lush part, aren't we? Very green. Guinea-Bissau is always easy to find because of this coastline. It almost looks like fjords, or it looks like these islands are like breaking off and it's crumbling away, almost like maybe like a many-fingered hand, right? Like it used to be a delta, but it's just crumbly. So if if you look out, you can really see it right there. If there wasn't a huge thing saying Biombo right there, that would help. But you should be able to find that pretty easily on a map, even though it is very small. So we can start over here in Biombo. There aren't many slideshows, but I just want to kind of show you the landscape, because you can see the river, this part here. It's, yeah, technically not an island, I suppose. A peninsula of sorts, I suppose. I don't know how to describe it. But we can see Kinamel up here. Let me see the photos. Remember, just the photos aren't terribly good, but this kind of gives you an idea of what this town is like. It is not a thriving, bustling metropolis, you know. It's a nice little town. Oh, you know what I did forget to mention is that the Papel are typically Catholic because of that time period when the Portuguese and the Papel really got along. They, or most of them, I should say, converted to Catholicism, even though most of the ethnic groups within Guinea-Bissau are Muslim, which you'll see in Bissau. But for the most part, the Papel are Catholic. You can see churches popping up there. There's a beautiful beach down here. Praia de Suru. Let's take a look. The Atlantic Ocean coast. Pretty flowers and plants. Kicking a ball around. Pretty fun. And floating in the ocean. Taking a boat out as well. Riding around. Oh, fishing. These guys are up to something. They've got all this camera equipment. But yeah, nice little beachy area here. Ooh, like abandoned almost. Totally empty. Perfect beach spot. But yeah, look at all of this mangrove mushiness out here. All of these trees growing in this very brackish water. All throughout. Rice is the staple crop grown here, which, I mean, it's perfect because it's just so wet and mushy here. Look at all this is all mangrove forest here along the coast. Look at all this mushiness, all this wet. It's pretty perfect for rice. Biombo is also where the airport is for Bissau, which is up here. There it is. I lost it for a second. The main airport for the capital city. Slideshow's not that great because it's just a little airport. But yeah, you can see the rest of this is still Biombo. All of this wet gushiness, I suppose. It's still very wet, even out here. All kinds of mangrove swamps and such. Like, this is all mangrove swamp. Isn't that interesting? And you can see the rice being grown there. Pretty cool, huh? Look at all of it. So yeah, there isn't much else to show you here. So why don't we head down to the city? Ta-da. Here's Bissau. Let's check out the slideshow. It's this big roundabout area, which we'll look at a little closer, because it's like at the heart of the, like, inner workings of the city and Guinea-Bissau, because it's the capital city. So yeah, this is a big, thriving metropolis. You can see that roundabout there. Not, you know, it's no Paris, it's no Los Angeles, but for West Africa, it's pretty good. You see all the rice there? Pretty neat. I mean, there are bigger cities, like far bigger cities in West Africa. It's no Lagos, but still pretty big. Or Guinea-Bissau. And then, yeah, you can see, like, if we look up here, you'll be able to see masjids. Much more Muslim population here. You can see hijab fashion shop right there. There are still churches, of course, but I think I read that the population of Christians and Muslims here is 50-50. But let's head down here. Well, they put the dot right in this roundabout for us, for Bissau. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, it's pretty much the heart of the city here at this roundabout. All of the important buildings are surrounding this big, neat monument here. And yeah, you know it's a good monument if you can climb it. That's how you know it's a good one. And it's very beautiful, isn't it? Swirling up to this tower. But yeah. So what's around here? You can see surrounding it are pretty much various government buildings. Here is like the main government building, I believe. I think these are all exterior shots, if I recall, but still gives you an idea. I thought the fencing kind of reminded me of Buckingham Palace because they're black and gold. A nice little touch there, making it a real palace. And then over here would be the presidential residence, which of course this is just all exterior shots as well. Playing some volleyball there. Oh wait, that can't be right. That can't be the right slideshow. Because I saw one. Well, maybe that's all we get tonight. Where did it go? Let's see what this building is. Agriculture. Oh, that's it. Yeah, not a lot of slideshows here in Guinea-Bissau. Huh, interesting. I could have sworn I saw more. But yeah. Do you think this is... Oh, there's no pictures anyway. So we head down this main street here. And it goes right to the docks here. There's a neat little park here. Some nice pictures, which has this neat statue in the middle of it that I found a crap. I think looks like a fist to me. Can you see it? I can only see it here. It looks like a big... Well, you can't see because it's in shadow. To me, I see a fist. What do you guys see? I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, but that's definitely what I see. That's a huge crab. Wow. What if he just plucked it out off the ground here? Because you can see how swampy it is here. They've managed to dig out a place for ships to dock out here. I think this one you can see the cranes here to collect whatever comes to port. Thank you. That is a crowded boat. I think they all have their life jackets on. The big shipment cranes there. Ready to go. Looks like very low tide here, huh? Very low tide. Yep. Anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's not a lot of pictures here in Bissau, which is unfortunate. Because we can look at the stadium. September 24th stadium. Looks like a big old football pitch here. But that's all the pictures. Gonna need someone in West Africa to come to Bissau and take lots of photos. So that we can see more. But I think that's going to be about it. Look how swampy it gets. Do we look at, what's this park? Any photos here? Oh, what's happening there? Planting something, I suppose. I wonder if these are big planters. I haven't looked at this slideshow, so I don't know if it's any good, but it looks interesting. Lots of photographs of people holding various crops. I wonder if this is some kind of organization. Oh, they look wonderful. He's holding a rooster. And a fish, a big old fish. My goodness. It's, what do you think that is? Coffee beans? Interesting, interesting. I like that. Anyway, I'm gonna, hold on. I'm inserting this real quick. I just stopped filming and I realized I forgot to show you the fort. So we're gonna clip this in and I'm gonna go back to the ending. So here's the fort, which you can see the outline. Very characteristic fort there. Now, the pictures don't really do it justice, but this is where Amilcar Cabral has been laid to rest with respect for the people of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde, which he helped in their independence movement, which I also forgot to say ended in 1974 with the Carnation Revolution in Portugal. But yeah, we can see what's left of the fort here with some artifacts. Lots of flags there as well. I put down my pencil because I stopped filming. Racing flags there. Amilcar Cabral. Looks like he's giving maybe a tour of the graves here. I assume of various independence heroes. It's stumbling over my words, but yes, that is the fort there. Now back to the video. It ended there. I'm not going to try to find one more slideshow for you. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. This is an ongoing series on my channel, and next we are going to stay in Africa, but a completely different region. See how this is all green and marshy and wet? We're going to go to a place that's very, very dry and sandy and rocky. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good